video lecture on chapters 8 and 9 of your textbook. At this point, we're moving in a slightly different direction in our elements of music. We've been talking about the elements themselves, the notes, how fast they are, how loud they are, what their melody is, what the harmony is, what the rhythm and meter is, along with some other elements. And now we're going to talk about who or what is making the music. Okay, music is a performance art. It needs people in order to make it come alive. So the question is, who or what is making the music come alive? And we really have two categories when we're talking about musicians themselves, the ones making the music. We talk about singers, which are people that are using just themselves to make the music. They're not using any extra objects. And then we have the instruments. Okay, those are going to be played by people who are using some kind of object, some kind of instrument in order to make the sound. Chapters 8 and 9 focus on the singers, all right, people just using their own bodies in order to make the sound. And I'm going to go through some of the vocabulary words and some of the categories of singers in your textbook. You are not responsible for any vocabulary word that I do not go over in this video lecture. There are a few extra ones in the textbook. You are not responsible for them. So just the ones in this lecture. When it comes to singers, the main distinguishing feature between one singer and another is the register of that singer. And register is referring to how high or low a singer sings. So if a singer has a very, very high-pitched voice, we say that that person's in a high register. If they sing low, it's a low register, medium register, etc. This is mainly something that people are born with. It's the way their voices naturally fall. With additional training, people can expand and adjust and change their register. But for the most part, it's something that they're born with. So people are born with a high register or with a low register. And that goes for both men and women. Here is a list of various voice parts. You may be familiar with some or all of these words. The top three are describing women singing, female singers. You would never use these three words when you were describing a woman. You'd only use soprano, mezzo-soprano, and alto. And these are in order of from high to low. So sopranos are going to be your highest singers. Mezzo-soprano means medium soprano, like medium high. And then alto is the lowest of the female singers. There are a few extra categories within these, but these are the three main ones. And you may name any singer, and they're probably going to fall in one of these three categories. For example, somebody famous whom I'm sure you've heard of is Adele. Adele, very popular singer. Think about how she sings. Is she generally singing lower, or is she generally singing higher? And I always say that Adele, while she's well-trained and can sing a wide range, generally falls in the lower alto mezzo-soprano category. That's where her voice seems to fit. Who's somebody who can sing really high? I would say Christina Aguilera. She has an enormous range. She can sing very low and very high. She generally sings higher than Adele, and that's where her voice naturally lies. As for the men, these are the three words that describe them. You have your tenors, which is the highest pitch. I would put Justin Timberlake as a tenor, right? He naturally sings pretty high. Baritone is medium for men. Bruce Springsteen is probably a baritone. And bass is going to be a low man singer. You may know some bass singers, or maybe you are one. These are people you can almost tell that their bass is just by talking to them. They have that really deep, low voice. Those are going to be bass singers. An example might be Barry White. If you know the singer Barry White, he's got a really, really deep voice. So these are the voice parts that you're responsible for. One other word that your textbook does mention is the word vibrato, which is a technique that singers use. Vibrato is Italian for vibrate, and it's that sound you hear when instead of singing just a straight pitch, like ah, there's a waver, ah. And it's something that the textbook describes as a throbbing sound. You can call it a waving sound or a wavering sound. And it's something that singers are usually naturally able to do to make the sound a little bit warmer, a little bit brighter, a little bit more expressive. And this is something that instrumentalists do on their instruments. Most instruments use some kind of vibrato. It's the thing you see if you've ever seen a violin player play and they're moving their hand back and forth. That's using vibrato, which is imitating the sound of a singer. All right, so these are the voice parts that you need to know.